I bet you guys didn't know that actually the first appearance of Superman was a two-part story published not only in Action Comics #1, but #2 as well. I sure didn't. Oh well. Double-length episode today on Comicology. So, why is Superman cool? Well, Superman has all the powers in the world. He can do just about anything. In our modern era, it's really easy for us to take that power for granted. Look around you. How many superheroes do you see on your daily basis? I mean, ideally, you see maybe some comic books. Maybe there's a trailer for a new movie coming out. I mean, come on. How many superheroes do you have in your daily life right now? Imagine if the answer to that question was zero. None. Not at all. The idea hadn't been invented yet. It's hard for us to imagine because every day we're introduced to superheroes. We've got dozens of superhero movies coming out every year with toys and food and toasters and a freaking Captain Economy's face plastered all over everything. But imagine a time when you didn't have that. It's the Great Depression. We're in a point right now, 1938, where America is sort of coming out of it. The Depression lasted about a decade, and America was slowly overcoming the stock market crash. They were just about there. But people were still starving. People were still living in shacks. This is the kind of hopeless, depraved world in which Superman was born, in which he was created. This was a time of suffering, a time before superheroes, but a time that definitely needed one. So now we have Superman, alias Clark Kent of the Daily Star, the average schmuck just like the rest of us, but in reality holds the secret power to do almost anything. Here in this groundbreaking first page we see him immediately in all his glory as a beacon of hope. We get a little bit of backstory. The dying planet of Krypton sacrifices his last son, sending him in an escape pod to Earth, where his advanced alien form grants him abilities far beyond normal humans. Has anybody out there read like the biblical story of Moses? It's kind of similar. There's like parallels. A child of the divine, lost from his home, given to be raised by the common people, while constantly holding on to a secret lineage. It's pretty much the same, right? The story gets right into the action, with Superman mid-leap, holding someone in his arms. He's on his way to the governor's manor to see the governor, but this green-robed guy won't let him. Superman just grabs the guy like, "Twerp, do you know who I am?" and takes him for a ride. Yeah, okay, so Golden Age Superman is not exactly the paragon of politeness and compassion that he becomes later. Well, there's no easy way to say it. Superman's kind of a jerk. So then Superman rips into the governor's private room and presents him some unknown evidence. Then Mr. Green Robes tries to shoot him with a revolver, and Superman just looks at him like he's an idiot. Then the governor gets his wits about him and reads the evidence. He makes a quick call and saves an innocent person from the electric chair. Once again, the day is saved by Superman. For the first time ever. I mean, except like all the roughhousing. Let's just say this version of Superman is not gentle. As they say, tough times cause for extreme violence. The next day, we see Clark Kent at his job at the Daily Star. He works as a journalist investigating different stories. His boss requests that he does an expose on Superman, and Clark decides to do the Spider-Man thing and report on himself. As he's leaving, one of his co-workers gives him a phone tip about a wife-beater in the city. Superman arrives just in time to put an end to the abuse by slamming the man into a wall. After handling the abuse situation, Clark returns to work, where he asks Lois Lane if she wants to go out on a date. She begrudgingly accepts, but when they arrive, they gain the attention of some ruffians who are at the party. One of the thugs tries to cut into their dance when Lois loses her temper and slaps the guy around. Then she decides to leave the party without Clark, who she views as a weakling. Just then, the thugs from the party run Lois down and kidnap her from her taxi. They attempt to make off with her, but Superman is there to stop them. He chases down the car on his bare feet. It's very impressive what Superman is doing right now. Unlike other versions of Superman, this one has a pretty limited power set. I think he's super fast, super strong, and then he can jump really far, sort of like the Hulk. But this is all groundbreaking for the time, even though his later powers like X-ray vision, ice breath, even flight, all that's absent. And it won't show up for a good while. So then Superman grabs the car and literally shakes it around with everyone inside of it, including Lois. Everybody starts to fall out and they run off. Especially this guy who has his face like, "Oh God, not again!" After that, Superman kidnaps Lois and runs her home. I mean that literally, he runs her home. The next day, she tells her boss at the Daily Star about her experiences, and he calls her crazy. Clark attempts to apologize, but she still dislikes him for being a weakling. She doesn't realize. She has no idea. She doesn't get that they're the same person. It's so deliciously ironic. Closing up this specific issue, we see Clark getting an assignment from his boss. He wants Clark to cover some sort of political conflict down in the Republic of San Monte, down in South America. He leaves by train to Washington, D.C. Here he attends a meeting of the Senate where he catches one Senator Burrows speaking to a slick lobbyist, Alex Greer. He finds the whole situation suspicious and decides to spy on them, immediately discovering that they are corrupt and they plan to start some sort of conflict between America and Europe. Superman grabs the lobbyist up off the street, literally just snatching him up and taking him for a ride. This is apparently some sort of interrogation on Superman's part. Then, in the middle of this makeshift interrogation, something truly awful happens. Superman leaps for the Capitol building and misses his mark. The two of them start falling when suddenly, the comic ends. I cried. So immediately I had to pick up part 2 because I had to finish the story. It's so freaking great. And I was not disappointed. Action Comics number 2 begins immediately where the first one left off, with Superman flying through space and then landing directly on his feet, making the concrete under him shatter with the force. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the world's first superhero landing! So finally, after all that madness, the lobbyist decides to spill the beans. He fingers a munitions manufacturer named Emil Norval. Superman runs off to find Norval's house, but the lobbyist phones ahead to warn him of the danger. Okay, so it gets a little convoluted, but to my understanding, what's happening is there is a munitions manufacturer who is paying off lobbyists to try and promote a war somewhere in South America. I think it's stated that the war is in Europe, but I'm pretty sure it's in South America. That's where they end up in the story anyway. And the idea is that he's going to become rich by selling munitions in a conflict that is ultimately been birthed falsely. And this pisses Superman right off. This is ironic, though, that they would publish this, because a few short years after this publication, this thing would kind of happen in real life. Europe would become embroiled in World War II. A great many arms dealers would become very wealthy. Are you seeing it yet? You getting why Superman's important? So then the Man of Steel breaks into Norval's house in order to give him some 2 cents, and then suddenly Norval unleashes his ultimate weapon. 3 guys with machine guns. Bullets don't damage Superman. That was stupid. Superman sends them all running away. Then he kidnaps Normal and forces him to move to the Republic of San Monte. The next morning, Lois and Clark board a steamer headed for San Monte, as well as Emil Norval, a group of dangerous thugs, and a mysterious woman named Lola Cortez. Apparently, Norval has hired a group of mercenaries for fear that Superman would show up. When he does, they attack, and by sheer force of luck, they force him off the boat. Norval isn't pleased with this outcome, however, and refuses to pay the thugs, so they turn on him. Before the thugs can kill him, Superman shows up once again to rescue him. This means Norval is now twice indebted to Superman, who demands that Norval now joins the army of San Monte. Norval knows he will be killed if he joins and decides only to pretend he's committed and then escape at the first chance he gets. He makes it to an enlistment office only to find that Superman is there in disguise, already prepared for his escape. Together they enlist and are immediately sent into a combat zone. Superman, in his early Golden Age years, is all built on irony. He doesn't promote sort of condemnation in the way that you would think. Nobody is really punished. They're kind of just given exactly what they want, exactly what they're seeking. You know, it's weird. All of his early victims are sort of walking this weird gray area and taking advantage of it. Sort of built on political bureaucracy and other such tropes that were really common at the time. It's so entertaining to watch. He just keeps lecturing this arms dealer about the importance of life, and miraculously, Norval gets kind of the point. So it's not that Superman is ineffective, he is effective. And that's the true heroism of Superman. He doesn't condone these actions, but he doesn't condemn them either. He doesn't hurt people. He's there to teach people to be better. As violent as he can be, especially in these early issues, he's got a point. The night after the fighting, Superman crosses the enemy lines and for some reason invades the tent of the enemy general just to snap a photo. Then he sends the photo back to the Daily Star where it's printed on the front page. While all of this is happening, Lois runs into Lola Cortez at the hotel. Lola is a mysterious woman and probably a spy. Some guards come storming into the building, so Lola ditches some evidence into Lois's room. The guards find the evidence, and Lois is prosecuted as a spy in a foreign country. Lois is meant to be executed, but before this can happen, Superman catches wind of what's going on and jumps in right on time to block the firing squad. 2 times now he saved Lois's life. I'll give you a guess. How many more times do you think that's going to happen in this series? Trick question. She never learns. After all that happens, Superman returns to Norval, who is under fire by enemy aircraft. So Superman literally jumps up and swats it out of the sky like a bug. Norval then decides he's had enough of war and just wants to go back home. He's literally begging Superman, and Superman's like, "Dude, just stop making guns and I'll let you go." Finally, Norval agrees, and he returns home. This leaves Superman just one more thing that he has to do before wrapping up this whole San Monte situation, and you'll never guess how he does it. Superman decides to kidnap his own general and the enemy general, and takes them to a secluded place, and then forces them to fight each other man to man just by themselves. They look dumbfounded like, "We aren't really even mad at all," and Superman reveals to them that the only reason they've been fighting is to sell munitions. Then they shake hands and make up. After that, Clark returns home with a job well done and turns in one hell of a story to his reporter. Holy cow. Okay, this was a long one, but it really needed to be. Superman is the best illustration of what we can be at the apex of our accomplishments. It's not just his physical performance that is greater than us, it's his morals. Superman is ingenious because he is an alien, but he looks like us. You wouldn't be able to pick him out of a crowd, and that's really important, right? Because he is uncompromised in his sense of righteousness, and he is this way because he is so powerful, however secretly so. Humans, it's important to note, humans commit crimes because they are frail. Their bodies are frail, their minds are fractured, their willpower is weak, and ultimately they have regrets. Humans have regrets. Superman does not. Superman is special in that he comes from somewhere beyond us, where knowledge and technology are beyond ours. Not beyond our reach, but we are just not quite there yet. Superman is what we can be in the future if we work hard and show compassion. At the core of who Superman is, he is a teacher. He takes these people and he shows them basically a lesson. He basically says, is this what you want? He takes the wife beater and he sort of shows them, is this what you want? Is this the violence and abuse that you want? He takes, he takes the judge, he takes the governor, and he presents them evidence and says, basically, you almost killed a man. Is this what you want? And he does this. The munitions dealer. He takes the munitions dealer to war and basically gives him what he wants. You want war? Is this what you want? And it's amazing because most of these average humans, when they interact with Superman, they come to the realization that, no, they don't want this. No, I don't want to do bad things. And that is what makes Superman the world's first and greatest superhero. So I guess that's it for me. Thank you everybody for reading this comic with me. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. If you would like some more of this, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I don't plan on stopping this anytime soon. If you want, you can follow me on Facebook so that you can get all the updates on all the new videos as well as all the things that I produce. I make comics and books and things like that. Until next time, always remember to strive to be better. That's what Superman taught us, and that's probably what we should be doing.